Fatter than Homer Simpson, lamer than Miles Peterson, and more boring than your great Aunt Maribel. Only those words can fit Bersercules, the Berserk Herc. Oh yeah! Hi, I'm Bersercules, the Berserk Herc, and today I'll be reviewing Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 17, Story 1, called The Girl That Almost Married Clark Kent. And wow, another story of someone trying to get Superman to marry. Well, Clark Kent this time. Jeepers! It's like a quadrilogy of stories about people trying to marry off Clark Superman Kent. What the fuck? I hope it ain't anything like Alien Resurrection. Anyway, and what's up with the title? The Girl That Almost Married Clark Kent? It's a very odd title. It's basically just a sentence. This review is called Bersercules Reviews the Issue Where Some Girl Almost Marries Clark Kent. The story starts off with a splash panel. It's actually two pictures. Ooh, twice the excitement. Oh, never mind. It's half the excitement. See if this draws you into the story. A woman thinking of how she wants Clark Kent as he types boringly at his desk, and another picture of Lois fawning over Superman as he breaks chains over his chest for a charity event. Don't know about you guys, but that seems mighty boring or interesting to me. And wait, that's how the Man of Steel helps charities? Bust chains over his chest to amuse people? What the fuck? What's next? You gonna crush a keg of beer over his head? And is it just me, or does that one lady under Soup's crotch look like she's excitingly staring at his ass? Super hot ass! And since Soup's been around fighting crime and doing stunts since he was a Superboy in Smallville, should people still be so excited to see him perform? Wouldn't it get old? Wait, what am I saying? People have been reading fictional comic books about this stuff for over half a century. Holy shit! Anyway, so after the not-so-exciting splash panel, our story starts in Calcutta, India, as Doris Drake, the world's richest heiress, cause no woman in this comic is going to be a self-made millionaire, watches a Hindu Faulkner, and through a boring set of dialogue, finds out that he can read minds due to a magic amulet and trades him a ring for it. Seriously? He has an amulet that allows him to read minds, and he exchanges it for a valuable ring? Wouldn't the ability to read minds be able to make you richer than Satan out in the wood with some forgers? Jeepers! Anyway, Doris then uses her mind-reading powers to suss out thieves and protect her assets, and then gloat to herself that even Superman can't read minds. And speaking of Superman, she then goes to one of his performances to read his mind. So, Soup travels the world performing for people? Are there no sick and dying people he can be helping? Isn't he in India right now? Didn't he have an epidemic of sick and hungry kids dying in the millions back then? What the super fuck, Superman? Superman, protector of the people, stopper of crimes, and the man who stands idly by as millions of children starve, even though he could do something about it. Superwits. Soup, seriously, instead of doing lame stunts and raising money for charity, get out there and help firsthand. You could plant fields of food and build huge apartment complexes for the poor and hungry in seconds. And you could buy the land and materials for them from diamonds you make. Seriously, you could solve all the world's problems and help everyone live a better life, and yet all you do is save some people from falling and break chains over your chests as crowds watch. Seriously, Superman, help us! Anyway, and at the performance, Soup does some tricks for the audience, and yep, he does the Indian rope trick. Cause I'm sure all the Indians in the audience haven't seen that stunt done to death before, and isn't that a trick normal people can do? Isn't it too simple for Soup, given his powers? I can remain suspended in the air by blowing down jets of super breath through my nostrils. Can you not just fly? How do you hover when you're flying? Are you always blasting out air from your nostrils to keep you up? And maybe blasting out the occasional super fart? What the fuck? And Soup, why the fuck are you telling yourself what you're doing in the moment? Do you not know what you're doing half the time? Jeepers! You really should work on not narrating to yourself all the time. After this, I'll perform a few more super feats, then fly back to Metropolis. Good to know, buddy. And then we see that Doris is in the audience as Soup continues his narration. It's time I switched to my secret identity as Clark Kent and reported to the Planet office. And now she knows your secret identity. Jeepers! It's like narrating to himself as his Achilles heel, or his kryptonite. Wait. Wow. Who knew Soup's disposition to narrate to himself would screw him over? I hope that doesn't happen to me. I like to masturbate to pictures of Lois Lane. Golly, I read Superman's mind. His secret identity is Clark Kent. And now she's doing it. So, she can read his super mind? It's not invulnerable? Oh right, superwits. Thanks for narrating to yourself, Soup. Not only is it always fun, but without it, this story wouldn't have happened. Super asshole. And I wonder how Soup will get out of this. Normally he tries to manipulate things so the person will second guess what they saw or heard, but it seems like this would be harder for him to cover up. I wonder how he'll handle it. And since I'm pointing this out, you know it's gonna be weird. So, now back to Metropolis. Doris sets a scheme into motion, getting Clark and Lois to interview her about some donations she's making, but as the interview starts, Clark must excuse himself. No lame excuse this time? Huh, that's new. And of course, this bothers Lois, but Doris, having read Clark's mind, knows it's because of an emergency. I must apologize for Clark. He often leaves suddenly, offering some lame excuse. Did I never clue into him being Superman? Did I tell you I'm a world-famous investigative reporter for a well-respected newspaper? Does Lois Lane have superwits? And he didn't give a lame excuse this time. What the fuck? The one time where it would actually work in the story for him to give a lame excuse, he didn't. What the fuck? This is super stupid. And hey, look at the shitty coloring job. All the red in this panel is offset above where it should be, and it looks like Lois is some sort of reverse vampire with a blood mustache. Got blood? Did the person in charge of adjusting the color have superwits? Jeepers! And what is the emergency supers needed for? Why, sticking his finger in a hole to keep a girder from falling. What a man, holding a girder in place with his finger. Wow! What skill it must take to put your indestructible finger in a hole! Little Dutch boy, eat your heart out. But seriously, doesn't it seem weird that everyone keeps thinking Soup is so great because he has powers? I mean, anyone with Superman's powers could break chains over their chest or hold a girder in place with their finger. It would be a feat for a normal person because they'd have to build up their body to be strong to do feats. But Superman could be weak without his powers and it wouldn't matter because he has superpowers. Through no action of his own, he just has superpowers. It'd be like being impressed that someone was born into wealth instead of making it themselves. Jeepers! Does everyone in Superman's reality have superwits? Lois, do you believe in love at first sight? I sure do. I fell in love with Superman the first time I saw him. So, it's normal in your reality to fall in love at first sight? Jeepers! I thought the whole love at first sight thing was people just being really horny. Hey Lois, just super fuck him once. Although Superman probably blows a load like a shotgun blast, so maybe not. Doris then confesses to Lois that she's in love with Clark Kent, and the two then scheme to help her get Clark. Doris because she actually wants Superman, and Lois because she wants her friend Clark to have a good life. And it occurs to me that Superman could marry two girls, and no one would know. Super polygamy! Lois then sets it up so Clark has to write a story about Doris, and the two then go to an opera together. And as the two chat, Clark notices one of the actor's swords is real, and uses his X-ray vision to secretly break the blade to save the actor's life. And meeting up with Lois and Jimmy in the lobby later, they talk of the incident before all going home for the night. Yeah, don't investigate the incident or anything to see if the sword mishap was intentional or not. They're such an awesome bunch of reporters. Days later, as Clark and Lois cover the opening of an interplanetary amusement park, featuring such rides as a space carousel and a Martian city. Cool! Is there any ride where you get a ride on a full moon? Yes, the Moonbeam Sliding Pond. Cool! I hope those little kids enjoy sliding out of a hole on a full moon. So Lois tries to convince Clark to marry Doris, but when that doesn't work, she resorts to letting the air out of his tires, so later as Clark finds his tires flat, he uses his super scent to figure out Lois was there. Super scent? What the fuck? Is he now some sort of super tracking dog? I've never heard of Superman's super smelling ability before. Does he also have super touch or super taste? Well, not in that outfit. Clark then notices Doris heading for him and realizes it was a scheme of the two. Clark then tries to inflate his tire and ends up accidentally overinflating it, causing it to blow up. I got so angry at Lois, I accidentally overinflated the tire. Accidentally overinflated the tire? Is he that easily distracted? Because if he accidentally hits someone too hard, he could take their head off. I'd like to see him make that mistake in a comic.
Kapow.
Oh no, I accidentally punched his head off. Oh, super shit. And as Doris drives Clark to Metropolis, she realizes Clark's onto her scheming, and Doris decides to make her play for him now, taking him to her yacht and getting on her knees. Good plan. I love you. Marry me, and I'll do anything for you. I'll buy you a chain of newspapers. Clark turns her down, and instantly she resorts to threats and insults. Wow, 'cause that'll make him want to marry you. Doris, jeepers, just super suck his dick. That's how you win guys over. Anyway, and then she continues on her rant, telling Clark Superman Kent all about having the ability to read minds. Wow, you'd never have been able to make your fortune yourself. So she then threatens to tell everyone his secret if he doesn't marry her, and then throws stuff at him. What the fuck? Yes, trying to get someone to marry you by showing how mental you are. Brilliant! Is superwits contagious? And then she throws her amulet at him, and it flies out the window into the ocean. What the fuck? Seriously? In her anger she took off her jewelry and threw it at him? What the silly bitch? And good riddance. No one should have the power to read minds. Except the audience. So how's Superman going to get out of this? Not only would he have to think of a way to convince her Superman didn't think of changing to Clark, but he'd also have to think of how to explain why all the stuff broke over his head. So, let's find out. Suddenly, as Clark stares intently at the raging woman, "Now, Miss Drake, you will forget everything you learned from your mind reading. You will remember nothing, understand? You hate Clark Kent." I had to use super hypnosis on her. What the fuck? He just used super hypnosis on her? Did Super Plot Convenience just give him a new superpower? Holy super fuck! This just broke the Goofy meter! This is dumber than Crypto the Superdog and Titano put together to make a giant superdog that shoots laser beams from its eyes! And if he had that power, why does he not use it on Lois? Instead of inventing elaborate schemes to hide his secret identity, he could just hypnotize her! What the fuck? I had to use super hypnosis on her. And it occurs to me that Superman could be a master rapist. After Clark repairs the damage at super speed with his superpowers, as I super read this super comic book about Superman for this subpar review, Lois shows up and Clark asks her if he should propose as Doris pours wine. Lois tells him to, and so Clark proposes to Doris, only to be yelled at by her, much to Lois's confusion, and the story ends as Clark and a confused Lois walk off together. You really like fucking with Lois, don't you, Clark? It's a match made in heaven, or at least in some writer's mind. So that's it. It's now the end. You enjoyed this review and will comment in the comment section about how much you liked it, saying it was super great.